Hey everyone, welcome back to The Lobby, GameSpot's weekly video game hangout. I'm your host, Mike Mahardy, here with Yhorm the Giant. Really bad boss fight from Dark Souls 3. Don't even try to argue it. But he's also our giveaway today. I wanted him to be out of the office. Again, I can't stand him. So it's like 30 pounds. Pete disagrees with me. It's pretty heavy, but this will be our giveaway today. Jump right into it because he's kind of taking up the conversation right here. Go to GameSpot's Twitter account. They're going to tweet out a link. You can apply there. Send in your name and follow GameSpot, retweet it, and later on the week we'll pick the winner. And you might get Yhorm. Pete, did you play Dark Souls 3?
No.
So you don't know who Yhorm is?
I've seen Yhorm.
This is Pete Brown, reviews editor, and he was
I didn't play the game.
He was fortunate enough to not have to fight this dumb boss.
I'm bad at these games.
He's dumb. Did you play Dark Souls 3, Kelly?
No, I'm also bad at these games.
It's Kelly Plaggy, so it seems like I'm the only one here that hates Yhorm. Again, we can get him out of here if you want him.
You're really selling it.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool.
If you want this thing I hate, whatever.
It's cool. He's got no face. You could put your finger in his face hole. His sword has a hole too. He's just I don't like this boss at all in general, but it is a cool figure.
Lots of
it's like one of those assembly ones. You take it apart and then put it back on. It kind of fell apart on accident here, but it's in good shape. Anyway, we have a good show today. We have Horizon Zero Dawn, a lot of coverage on that game. All three of us have played it. Pete reviewed it. His review's up. We'll talk about that. We also have some Berserk to get into, and we're going to talk about some developers that are doing well in recent weeks and the coming months.
I want to just mention that there is this nice, these fibers growing out of his armor.
He's fuzzy.
The package said wolf hair.
Like actual wolf hair?
Well, I was kidding, but it feels real.
It looks like errant mustache hairs that were collected off someone's bathroom floor.
Ew.
Probably.
Cool.
You guys are not
Yhorm
selling
Giant
the
with
statue.
drain hair. Follow GameSpot's Twitter account and then retweet it, follow. Get a better shot of that. His dumb face hole. That's him. That's Yhorm. Anyway, on to the show.
Okay. Well done, Mike.
I do have one more thing. So producers of The Lobby brought it to my attention last week that I have a foul mouth. And last week, more so than usual. So what I decided to do is to institute a swear jar in the form of this Fallout 4 nuke.
It's the
mini nuke.
F-bomb.
This is the F-bomb now. So if I swear too much, I'll start putting dollar bills in that. Pete will too.
Yes.
It's not like Pete has a
I mean,
mouth.
we will
I
all-
have a pretty foul mouth.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, hopefully, I don't know what we're going to do with the money once he goes in there, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, what have you guys been up to this week?
Man, getting hype for Switch and trying to cool down from Horizon. I know we're not jumping into that yet, but that game had me riding pretty high for the last week. Yeah.
Had me riding dinosaurs, robot dinosaurs, Striders. I killed a grazer just
Striders.
before we came on.
Yeah.
This game in general is pretty fantastic. I played like 4 hours of it. Kelly, I think you and me, similar playtime.
Yeah, I really, really like it. I didn't want to put it down. I went to bed super late. I'm really tired. Worth it.
Gotcha.
I like it a lot. I have a
Cool.
lot of thoughts.
Well, for those just joining again, we are getting into more Horizon, and then we're going to be talking about kind of like, because Guerrilla Games seems to have a hit on their hands, and it's a game in a genre that they're not known for at all, in a series they're not known for. We are going to talk about developers today on the scene that are pretty hot, so to speak. But first, I want to get into a little lesser profile game, but I'm sure people are interested in it nonetheless. Berserk, Band of the Hawk.
Yeah. You wanted to talk about this, right?
I wanted to because I don't know
It's your
much
favorite
about
game.
it. You two both played it, right?
Yeah, I played a couple hours.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so it's based on a more than 27-year running manga series. I said manga before the show, and
Yeah.
Callie yelled at me.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
So describe this series to me quick before we jump into the game.
Oof.
Oh,
Can you describe it
God.
quick?
I don't know. I mean,
Is the
it's
series Berserk or is the series Band of the Hawk?
The series is Berserk.
Berserk.
Okay.
It's known for being really gory. It kind of resurfaced due to a new anime that aired last year, and it was controversial for having a lot of CG that everyone hated.
It's basically all CG.
It was like all CG.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like
As opposed to like purist anime.
Well, yeah, because there was a TV series in the 90s that was rather short-lived, only told like part of one arc of the manga.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't go that far.
It's one of those things that, like, some anime, I'll be like, just read the manga. This is probably one of them for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's about a dude named Guts, and he just likes to kill people. That's a super simplification of it.
Yeah, there's like a lot of occult stuff that's brought into it, and super gory, and like things like demons and hell are very prominent. And,
I mean, like, I want to emphasize how gory and heavy it is. Like,
Yeah.
this is not something you take lightly. don't read it like if you just want to like a little romp, you know.
Right.
So it fits because it's part of like what is it, a spin-off of the Warriors series,
But
Dynasty
yeah,
Warriors,
it's
Warriors of
mechanically
Urukai.
similar to that series,
It's
right?
a Musou
Yeah.
game.
Because Omega Force did this as well, right? Yeah, and
So basically, and Berserk has got it, or Guts has got a huge sword, and he's just mowing down enemies, and
Yeah.
that's basically what you've always done in those
right.
games.
And our review is up if you want to go read it. 5
5
out of 10 from Miguel Concepcion, our editor here at GameSpot. He seemed to find it monotonous and banal after its first hour or two, especially considering the like extra
par for the
content doesn't
course.
seem
I
to
mean,
be. Yeah.
That's very much a common complaint with Musou games. But this one has a lot of anime cutscenes in it. We're just looking at some Berserk right now.
Super long cutscenes, right?
Super long cutscenes taken from the long history of different anime and different arcs of Berserk. And they actually did tighten up the CG that was a big complaint for the most recent Berserk anime adaptation, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, look at that.
Those upturned lips and that bulbous nose is not the Guts I know.
That's not the business.
Oh, he looks different than the one we're used to.
It's slightly, there's like
Yeah.
stylized
Yeah.
kind of take on him. And so like, it's the anime itself is engaging. Like the cutscenes are enjoyable to watch despite like, I love the older stuff, but these are still okay in the context of the game. But then you only get about 5 to 10 minutes to play before you get thrown into another cutscene.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
like what game was that? Asura's Wrath. Did you play that back in the day?
Yeah.
Reminds me of that a little bit. But even that, like the gameplay itself was quick time events,
Right,
almost
exactly.
cutscene,
Yeah.
interactive
It's different,
cutscenes
yeah.
throughout the whole game.
But like to contrast it with something similar, like I've played One Piece Musou games that basically tell a very abridged version of the One Piece story. If you don't know, One Piece is at like episode 800 now,
It's silly.
still running.
Too many episodes.
Yeah, it's too many. But like the One Piece Musou games kind of do these very short versions of cutscenes, and so it's not as broken up as Band of the Hawk is, just for context.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there are like side objectives, it looks like, in this. From what you guys played, how long did both you play?
I was
Berserk?
only allowed to play about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Why were you only allowed? Who was preventing you from playing one?
The PR
hours?
company.
Oh, it was like a preview?
I was capturing footage. I could
His
only
mom.
capture 2
I
hours.
thought, I thought like
His mom limited his
Marge
TV
Brown,
time.
Yeah, showed up.
Peter, you played more than an hour of Berserk.
A heavy
you know
smoker.
you're not supposed to.
A real heavy smoker.
Peter, that game's rated M. Get off the TV. I want to watch my stories.
Yep. That
So
sounds
you
about
played it
right.
for a preview. What, is that the same thing, or do you play it like post-release?
Well,
It's out.
Yes. I
It
sit
is.
next to Miguel, so I just kind of swoop in on what he's working on sometimes.
Right.
So I didn't even get 2 hours, but
Okay.
it's enough with a Musou game. It's pretty much enough to get a feel for what it's going to be. The gameplay is pretty similar throughout, obviously, and then I watched a lot of the cutscenes just kind of over his shoulder.
What's going on here? Is it like a medieval kind of aesthetic?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, like
Yeah.
you were kind of like an orphan, and now you're a mercenary, and you joined this crew that is essentially the leader is Griffith, who sort of is like your longtime like ally rival from that point forward. But like the gameplay is basically this. No matter what your side objectives are, this is kind of all you're doing.
Yeah.
And in a sense, it does kind of capture like the essence of Guts. Like he's covered in blood right now. There's blood flying everywhere.
It
and
has a
he's-
huge sword.
Right.
Like, it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think maybe perhaps better than the Berserk games that were on Dreamcast and the Japanese one on PS2. Like this feels like your Guts a little bit more, but it just you don't really get the same sense of like the character rather than like what he does. If that
Is he an
makes
interesting
sense.
character in the manga?
He's certainly conflicted, and he's got a lot of inner dialogue.
Yeah.
You kind of get a lot of it here just through cutscenes, which is ambitious for these games to try to present a story, but it's, especially for fans of the series, stuff they've already seen. So it does retread familiar ground, which
Yes.
detracts from that a little bit. And there's certain aspects of the anime and manga that are hinted at or sort of talked about for brief stints of time, even in those mediums, that it's like a video game that was exploring just like the Dark Knight part of Guts would be awesome, but it focuses so much in the beginning. Well, actually, in the very beginning, he's in like hell.
Yeah.
But from that point forward, it moves towards him like, being a budding mercenary. And that stuff Berserk fans have experienced forever. And I think this doesn't even give them what they want. And speaking as a casual Berserk fan, it doesn't give me what I want.
Right.
Yeah, and even like if you're like, this isn't going to be a good entry point for Berserk if you haven't
Right.
been exposed to it at all. Like again,
Yeah.
just read the manga. That's my mantra.
So I don't know how much of a dedicated following like Musou games have. I mean, I'm sure they do, but it seems like it's
do.
so
Yeah.
monotonous, and I feel like I'm shitting on it and all. I play them. I play them for like the catharsis of it, just kind of mowing through enemies. And
Well, yeah, it's like
I
that
wonder if-
relaxing kind of grind.
Sure, does this game cater well to fans of Musou, like even if they don't care about?
So
Berserk?
Miguel has a pretty long history with the series. I forget his exact points, but basically, I think what it boiled down to for him is in that context, this doesn't maybe do enough to stand out if you're just looking at it as like a Musou game.
Yeah.
Just speaking from my experience, if you look at Attack on Titan, that game that came out a couple months ago, at least at that point, mobility has changed because you have these things that propel you through
The
the
3D
air.
maneuver gear.
Right, like you
Yeah.
can just fly all around the map. I mean, that feels like a fundamental change where it's like, cool, this really, it
Talk about the PS4 one, right?
yeah. I mean, this really just feels like you're playing Musou with the dressing of Berserk, not necessarily that it's influenced the gameplay as much as the story and the setting.
That's a good point.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that is Berserk Band of the Hawk. We'll move on from that shortly. Our review by Miguel Concepcion is up on GameSpot. He gave it a 5 out of 10. You can go read a little more about that. We have gameplay videos up as well if you're
and a
interested in
video
watching
review.
more. Yeah, the video review is up on YouTube and GameSpot. So go check those out and let us know what you think and whether you want to be playing it amid the slew of releases on the near horizon.
Slurry. A real frothy slurry.
Yeah. So, let's... what?
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 That you should pay for that one. Yeah, for those just joining, this is our F-bomb swear jar
Yeah.
because apparently I swore a lot last
We all
time, so-
swear a lot. It's fine.
All right, here we go. Horizon Zero Dawn. Probably what a lot of you came here for today. It's what I came here for today. Nothing against Berserk, but it's not. It's no Horizon.
Yeah, because it got a 5 out of 10 on GameSpot.com.
Horizon Zero Dawn got a 9 out of 10 by none other than Peter Brown right here.
Yeah.
Pete, we don't want to reiterate your review too much, but
That's
like,
okay.
Sum it up.
I feel like there's some stuff I wasn't able to get through my review because there's a lot to talk about in this game. Okay, so I played a lot of open world games over the past couple of years, and that includes the likes of Xenoblade Chronicles, Metal Gear Solid 5, Fallout 4, whatever. This is the first game that makes the action so immediate and satisfying. And throughout the game, that is what sort of drives you to continue exploring the world. At least for me, like at no point did I ever grow tired of the combat, and that's partially because Aloy, the character, controls so well, but also because she has a lot of different weapons, and the enemies are so great, and they have sort of an answer for everything you throw at them. So that's like the one constant in this game that is always true. And the second one is the world is just beautiful to look at. The game, Guerrilla Games knows what they're doing. Their engine is amazing, and this is evidence of that. And so beyond that, what you have is an open world game, kind of like something like Far Cry. It's a series I don't have a lot of experience with, but you kept telling me like, oh, it sounds like Far Cry.
Structurally, it feels like a Far Cry open world, like cascading structure. Once you unlock this outpost, and then you get this kind of side quest, you're hunting to upgrade your capacity for these things.
Right. So yeah, you
Not
spend
the action, but definitely the overall structure and systems at play.
Yeah, crafting is huge, resource gathering is huge, and sort of working towards being able to carry more and do more with what you carry. And then on top of that, there's a story that maybe doesn't start out so wonderful. Well, actually, the beginning is great. The middle part is a bit dull, but by the end, it sort of goes into areas that were hinted at the beginning of the game, and it's like nice to see them trade the tribal stuff for like, okay, what's the deal with this world? Why is this world like this? Because it's this interesting mix of, as you can see, like wilderness, but then also crazy technology. And it's a marriage that is also represented in Aloy because, you know, she is essentially an outcast from this tribe as a young child, and this is all at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
She finds a device that essentially lets her tap into technology, which no one else around her has done or currently does.
Calls it the focus.
Yeah.
I found her, whether it was the voice acting or the character animation, the character animations in this game are kind of weird sometimes. Like they skirt the uncanny valley a little too much for me.
Yeah.
But I found her to be more interesting of a character when she was younger. Well, I've only played as her for like 2 hours right now. But I liked her when she was younger.
I thought the way they characterized her as a child was so true to how children are, and I was so charmed by it.
Yeah.
Like she's like repeating lines that she hears and repeating the things people say to her, and it was just it seemed very real to me.
Sure.
But I think her motivations are like pretty well developed, at least in the beginning, to like get you going and get you engrossed. So
Yeah, and I would love to spoil these things, but I can't. So, you know, what I can say though is that by the end of the game, at least the third act, it is so steeped in Aloy's story, the story of the world, that whereas yes, I agree with you, her character kind of falls off after the intro section. The game almost kind of does that on purpose to let the world and like the tribal stuff come into play to make you feel like, okay, I understand what's happening in present day. But then the end of it is all about history and stuff like that, and stuff Aloy learns, and her character certainly comes around in a very meaningful way for me.
And that's probably a good segue, because you keep talking about the world and the post-apocalypse. That's what I wanted to talk about for this segment, is specifically how Guerrilla Games, the Amsterdam-based developer, has kind of crafted this, I don't want to say unique because other people have done this, but it's crafted this in the slew of post-apocalyptic games we have. This is kind of a novel take on the post-apocalypse, right? I think they call it the post-apocalypse.
Yeah, post.
So it's like 1,000 years after whatever event. It's 1,000 years from now. And humans have, like not just dealt with and accepted whatever it was, whatever apocalypse came about, but they've adapted like back to tribal warfare and politics.
They actually have no idea why the world is the way it is around them.
They've accepted it. That just is how things are now. And then there's machines.
They come up with their own terms for things.
Yeah.
They refer to things based on
the metal places.
How it makes sense. The old ones referring to us.
Yeah.
Right. It's just how it makes sense to them at their point in time.
It's not only us, it's an advanced form of us from what I've gathered, right? Like the focus thing is kind of...
Yeah, well, so technically the year, I don't know if I can spoil the year. It's not exactly 1,000 years from today. I think a loading screen says that. They actually give you a certain year that it's like 1,000 years from.
Okay.
But it's certainly, yes, an advanced form of us.
So I do like, Pete, you said one of your favorite things about the game was that this cool blend of futuristic tech, but also just like Stone Age tools and like a really overgrown wilderness that you're exploring. It's cool juxtaposition. You'll be hunting like a boar at one point, and then you'll be hunting this sawtooth, saber-tooth machine. It's a really cool dichotomy between the two. Callie, I think you and I have played about the same amount of time, maybe like 4 or 5 hours-ish.
Yeah.
What is your take on this world? Like, are you interested in it? Do you want to keep exploring it, or are you more interested in the action of the game?
I mean, I think they feed into each other pretty well. Like you said, going from you have to hunt mammals for crafting, right? So you're going from hunting mammals to hunting a machine to get the tools to in turn do something else. And in that sense, like I wanted to learn more about the world. Like I'm so invested in finding out what happened to our world, to get the setup for this, that I want to do the grinding. I want to get into the action and get the tools I need to keep exploring. So I think it does a really good job of that. And I also think at first when I first heard about this game, like when it was first announced, I was really worried about like, oh, I'm gonna feel so underpowered with a friggin' arrow against a machine, but it doesn't feel like that. And I think it Horizon balances that really well also. Like like Pete said, like you are always given the information and tools you need to take something down. It's a matter of execution.
Yeah.
And I think that's
execution
really
that relies on you having to run and dodge and roll out of harm's way.
It's so good.
And managing a bunch of different weapons. Like you'll have a slingshot, you'll have a few types of bows to fire different types of arrows. And you're juggling all of this on the fly. And the game does a really good job of allowing you to do this by using a weapon wheel. And when you're selecting with the right stick, time will slow down, but you can still run, dodge, and jump as Aloy.
Yeah.
So you're still in the action while you're choosing your new weapon. On top of that, you can craft while in that weapon wheel.
Yeah, it's so smart.
So you can do all of this in the middle of combat. So it's this execution both in the physicality of reacting to an enemy and managing all of your stuff at the same time to be an efficient person. And then so if you see this glowing bit right here, Aloy can use her focus to focus on an enemy, obviously, and then get sort of like where their weak points are. And those elements will stay highlighted for a period of time. You can knock those off, which will have different effects on enemies. Some will have like a fuel canister. Hit it with fire, it'll explode, and that'll kill other nearby enemies or set those enemies ablaze, creating a chain reaction. Or you can knock off a piece of armor, make them vulnerable in that one spot, or knock off one of their weapons, pick it up yourself, and use it against the monster.
Yeah.
This is all of these options could take place in a single minute of combat, or only one or two of them could take place in a single encounter, but they're all good no matter how many you're juggling. That's totally what kept me going, was feeling like I had this powerful sort of tool set, and it was kind of up to my imagination and skill to make the most of it.
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
people are calling out saying it's like Far Cry Primal in a way, and I actually get that reference because you are doing something similar in Far Cry Primal. You're meeting the tribes, which also at the 4 hours I'm in, the inter-tribe politics and kind of cultural relations makes me think of Far Cry Primal. And of course, Far Cry Primal uses that, that new open world that Ubisoft established with Far Cry 3 or Far Cry 2, I guess, if you want to go back farther. That kind of, you unlock this outpost and that leads to 3 more people that can give you quests, and they lead to like 4 more fetch quests. And it's a really engaging kind of cascading like waterfall structure of quests that I really like. But then Horizon introduces more on like the world building side of things that I felt Far Cry Primal did. My chief allure to this game right now, outside of the action that you guys were talking about, and using the tools, like using these primitive tools to take down these futuristic machines, then vice versa, and kind of using the machines later on in the game to help you against them, which I'm just getting into now, and I'm finding pretty exciting to get these new tools. I really like the fact that I'm actually invested in these audio logs I'm coming across from the old world, but like from us. Because usually in a game, I was telling you this morning, Pete, like I think there's so many games out now, especially open world games, that I don't take as much time as I would like to get into the lore and the backstory and like the audio logs of a world. But I like it here because everything you're seeing and engaging with is the weird world, the weird part. It's not, you're learning the backstory and the lore of that fantastical world in front of you. But then the audio logs are from a time that we're familiar with, or at least like relatively, we're like they're humans. So when I get it, it's like grounding it and like bringing some recognition to this world, and I really, really like that. I don't know if you've had any experience with that in terms of the world building for this.
Yeah, a little bit of the audio logs. I really like that I can continue to explore and just kind of listen at my leisure, and then I can stop and start it. And I normally, when I play an open world game, I like try to explore every corner, and it takes me forever to finish. But this one, I'm just so invested in figuring it out, because they do, like you said, they do ground it in like, they're talking about sort of technology that we're 20, 30 years out from, so it seems realistic and plausible. And when you're hearing the audio, like there's a moment at the very beginning when you're still playing as child Aloy where she like sees a dad wishing his son happy birthday, and like that sort of thing where like, he has to telecommunicate with his kid because he's doing whatever he is. And then I was wondering, like, why is he there? What is he doing? Like, I just think it's really smart in that it gives you sort of like breadcrumbs at the start. And then I'm like, I could not wait to get to the point where I could start exploring the metal world again.
Yeah, your imagination just kind of like runs with these things, And it's cool to see how the game, at least from my perspective, like fulfilled the things I thought I saw coming, and then also at times didn't. And it wasn't because like I was wrong. It was like I felt like the game knew what it was trying to set up, but then the developers were like, we're gonna surprise you by bait and switch.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I think I had a little bit of it spoiled for me, but not enough that I don't care about what's going on, because I really am invested in this story. Like I said, I think the voice acting is hit or miss. I guess that's just the case in big worlds like this.
Yeah.
Especially when you're meeting so many NPCs. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, this is a really cool take on like an open world. I really love coming across. I think I'm like in the desert region now, or near it, and because like we've seen this taiga mountainous area throughout since it was revealed 2 E3s ago. And we've seen that, but then of course you go to these snowier areas, you go to desert. I think there's like a more jungle area from what I hear. It's a pretty varied world. I don't think they ever, maybe it's a spoiler, I don't think they ever particularly say it's this part of Earth.
They don't.
Maybe they do.
They don't.
Okay, well either way, it seems like a microcosm of Earth, right? Just different biomes. I don't know, maybe you go to more urban environments. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but when you do come across like vestigial traces of our world, it's really cool. The metal places they call it, but they're forbidden. And then you get the sense that they're forbidden because the tribes don't want us to have that power. At least that's my understanding of it now, like 3 hours into the game. So it's super interesting. I get a sense of weird reference. I get a sense of the Shyamalan's The Village, where they like don't let them go out of. They're like making up these myths, this folklore to prevent them from wandering too far out of the boundaries.
It doesn't go to the same logical. Yeah, like the boundaries.
Adrian Brody doesn't trip into a spike pit wearing a red cloak and wolf mask. Sorry, I just spoiled that movie.
It's not the same, but yes, I can see the parallels there. Like it is, I think the Nora tribe is sort of fearful of technology because they've seen evidence of what it can do to people.
Yeah.
And so they want to basically like prevent that from happening again.
Okay. And I'm interested in seeing how these different tribes interact. There's like the one that lives in Meridian. I forget what it's called. The Karja?
The Karja.
The Karja. I'm just starting to meet a few of them. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it.
That weird guy hits on you.
Yeah, the dude with the mutton chops.
Oh yeah,
What's his
I was so
name?
uncomfortable.
I think was he the Sun Prince they keep talking about, or is that a different
no,
dude?
he was just some dude.
Some like
He's not even a Karja.
He sort of becomes your buddy over time, and I think at one point he even apologizes like
Good.
for having hit on you. But
yeah.
I mean, like it's
But he was-
supposed to be uncomfortable, so I thought that was effective.
and he was drunk too. I think in that.
Oh,
intro.
really?
I think that was the deal. Like I think he's always drunk. Actually,
He said he needed a drinking
we all?
second. The dude who came brought him
Yeah.
with him for a drinking second and stuff. Yeah.
You're at a party for
Yeah.
context. I would like to say I think some of the tribal lore is a little bit of a shortcut, like the the matriarchs and the All-Mother and I know in post-apocalypses
Apocalypse.
apocalypses God damn it. Does that count for the swear jar?
No.
Anyway, I know, like the traces of the old worlds and all the progress we've made are usually wiped out in a post-apocalypse. So it's like, okay, of course we're going to start from kind of square one or square zero. But I do think it's a little bit of a convenient, not a cop out, but I was kind of at the very beginning. I'm like, oh, okay, a matriarchy. Okay. Oh, they worship the goddess. All right. And it seemed like they had gone too far back into like, oh, we're tribes and we make up these myths to explain the world. When like Aloy has this focus and she just gets she's like, oh,
right. So it's
okay.
It's why like almost immediately that tribal stuff just feels long in the tooth, especially like I played the game for about 60 hours and I'd say about 20 hours in the story starts to really focus outside of the tribal stuff. I'm so thankful for it because it really just doesn't add up to a lot.
Yeah.
You sort of like there is a conflict that arises, you understand it. There's not like the moving pieces within it, they're not that great.
Yeah, I'm also a little wary of it just because I'm not sure what current world inspiration they have for the tribes. It feels like they're wearing like Native American inspired garb.
I mean, yeah.
The matriarchy is like where I'm from in the Northeast, the Iroquois tribes are all like, it was matriarchal. And also the creation story sounds sort of similar too.
Yeah, I mean,
they didn't have a super AI.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that seems very reminiscent of Native American culture. On one hand, the game is like really good at putting females at the front of the game, not just Aloy, but other characters that are females are really strong, and that's nice to see. And you also see a lot of like people of color as well,
Yeah,
which is great.
Definitely.
Like I'd say the vast majority in this game are, but then Aloy is cast as this white girl like wearing all this tribal stuff. I mean, like it's like one step in the right direction, one step back.
We were talking about this yesterday, not to nitpick, but would there even be many white people this far in the future?
Wasn't there a National Geographic thing about how like that there wouldn't be white
exist.
people?
Right.
I feel weird talking about this as like three Irish as hell white people,
Right.
but it did give me pause at first.
Absolutely. It's not just looking for things to be sensitive about.
No,
it's just blatant.
I would love for somebody who's more well versed in the topic than I to give their take on it. Like I would love to read that or hear that. Like tweet at me. I would love to know more. But yeah, so I was a little hesitant about it. I'm like, okay, they're wearing like a lot of beads, and some people have dreads, and that's okay. That's the thing. Aloy doesn't have dreads, by the way. She looks like she has dreads. I was talking to somebody about this. I'm like, this white girl with red hair and dreads. And I'm like,
was
no.
talking about her hair when I was playing.
She doesn't
Looks
have
like
dreads.
Medusa.
And when I don't blow my hair dryer and straighten it, that's how my hair looks. So,
Well,
yeah.
different color.
Yeah.
really.
Oh, yeah, really?
No, I wish I could do dreadlocks. But
No, you don't. Please don't say that.
Yeah, and I just find it interesting. Her name is almost Alloy,
Yeah.
Right, of
which
course.
is a mixture of metals.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes story wise. I don't know. I'm not
Bum, bum,
spoiling
bum.
anything. Yeah, maybe she really is just a machine. I have no idea. Anyway, cool. So yeah, we just wanted to talk about the world building itself of the game because it is kind of a pretty novel way of taking on the post-apocalypse. And that's a good segue into our next section. Before I go on, Twitch user Miblik, as well as a few other people, are asking what the game's release date is. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's February 28th on PS4.
Yes.
So a week from yesterday.
Yes. So next Tuesday.
Yes, this coming Tuesday. It's a way easier way to say it. February 28th. So let us know what you think about the world building. Hopefully we'll have more to talk about next week when you play it. Again, because we always want to have you involved. We don't want to be just talking about these things to you. We want to hear your feedback. So let us know on Twitter, Pete Brown, Callie Plaggy, Mike Mahardy. We'll respond to you. Cool, so moving on. That's a good segue. I think one of the surprising things that like it's weird. A lot of times, certain reviewers and certain outlets don't like to talk about too much about the intent behind the game or like what like the developer, what it means for the developer. But it's kind of hard to separate the story of Guerrilla Games from Horizon Zero Dawn, mainly because the only thing they've done before is this drab action shooter franchise.
They did have a game before Killzone. But
Sorry, the biggest thing they've done.
Well, certainly ever since their first game, they've done
all
is
Killzone.
I think it's been like 12 years or something like that. Yeah.
And now, after the 3 Killzones and then Killzone Shadowfall, which was pretty much just showing off the tech of the PS4, they're here with Horizon Zero Dawn, which, it's an amalgamation of a few different kinds of games, action RPG, open world, but it's cool. They made the jump pretty gracefully.
Based on my feelings about the evolution of Killzone, I didn't care about this game at all.
Yeah.
I didn't even plan on reviewing it. I sort of had to pick it up due to just circumstances. I was so pleasantly surprised, and it has totally overwritten my perception of Guerrilla Games. Like Killzone is like, that's history. I can't even factor that in anymore.
Yeah. It was a shell shock, Nom 67.
Yeah.
Dumb name. But yeah, it's for all it is cool because like the story seems it's a weird thing. Like we're gonna talk again in a few minutes about open world games in general and whether the genre is just this big amorphous blob right now. I think Horizon does some cool things to set it apart, and then we have Breath of the Wild and the Horizon, and last year we had a few of them. But I just said on the Horizon again. I've been saying that way too much. That was accidental that time. It is impressive as hell that they could have made this jump so well and introduced their own ideas into the fray at the same time. Yeah. I don't know. We want to get into other developers, but like, did you play Killzone at all, Callie?
Barely.
Yeah. Like, you like shooters a lot.
I do.
They were pretty boring shooters.
Yeah, I mean, as far as shooters go, I play a lot of them. There was nothing really to draw me in to Killzone, so I barely touched it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I just going from first-person shooter to third-person action alone, with disregarding everything else about Horizon, is a big jump to me. Like, is impressive enough to me. I'm like, oh, that's a completely different mindset, different level design, different everything.
Yeah, it seems like they definitely established themselves here with a new, like, show that they can do, they're not a one-trick pony, so to speak. So Guerrilla Games, for all intents and purposes, looks like they're doing well. And we want to talk about other developers that might be, like, hot right now, for lack of a better term, at the present time, or even developers that we, like, have done no wrong, it would seem. I wanted to go first. I think Blizzard Entertainment consistently does the same thing, I think, for the most part. I think Overwatch, their first big shooter, was a huge success. It's one of my favorite shooters ever now. It was one of my favorite games last year. Blizzard has this uncanny ability to understand what makes a genre great and kind of boil it down to its, maybe not bare essentials, but boil it down to its essence and then, blow things up from there. Overwatch itself is just like great team shooter, great tactics, just the characters, how they interplay with each other. I actually think, I've talked about it before, the world building of Overwatch, despite the fact that it's not right in your face, is some of my favorite in a game in recent memory. But of course, they went from, start with Warcraft and they jumped to StarCraft. They have 2 RTS properties. You have World of Warcraft, which shows no signs of slowing down in the MMO space. It shows signs of slowing down, but it's still pretty huge for being how many years old? 14?
I think it was 2004?
Yeah.
Like 13 years old. If that's crazy to me. And then they still have how many subscribers?
Millions, Michael.
Millions of people in Azeroth every day.
They got those pandas now. They got that panda expansion.
And I like Diablo 3, despite the fact that a lot of people don't. Eric Tay is probably like throwing up right now, but I really like Diablo 3. It's one of my favorite games. I realize that it skewed a lot of what made Diablo 2 good, but they could do an action RPG like no other. And every time they jump genres, like who knows what would have happened with Titan, but that would have been an MMO as well. So, they, for all intents and purposes, are doing really well. Mm-hmm. I don't know, Pete, do you have a developer in mind that you think is kind of...
We talked about this yesterday, and now I'm trying.
Yeah.
I know, like...
You mentioned a few, like Callie, you mentioned the Fulbright company on the indie space.
Yeah, as far as indies go, I've Gone Home is one of my favorite games, and that's the reason I want to play Tacoma. Like, aside from everything that I know about Tacoma, which isn't actually that much, I know the setting and kind of like what it's like space adventure thing. But I will play it simply because it's Fulbright, and I know that they do a good job. And now that Nina Freeman works at Fulbright, I really liked How Do You Do It, which is like this little experimental like Flash, I think, game that she did. Now that she does level design over there, I have even more incentive to be interested in Tacoma, even without knowing that much. So that's kind of, aside from AAA stuff, that they're the ones I'm keeping my eye on for now.
Yeah, Gone Home was great. I loved every second of it. I haven't replayed it, I don't think, since I finished it, but Tacoma, I'm hoping will scratch that itch, especially, set on a space station. It looks kind of like it has System Shock vibes almost. Not that it's a first-person sim shooter like Prey is, but I'm really looking forward to Tacoma. And actually, that's a good segue. Arcane Studios, since they released Dishonored in 2012, seems like they've just been nailing it. I mean, Dishonored 2 is the only other game, and now they have Prey, which looks fantastic. It looks right up my alley. It's more open world than Dishonored. It's sci-fi horror themes.
So
It's like
so
System
sold
Shock
on
3.
Prey.
Yeah,
so sold.
I can't wait for it. And I feel like Arcane, for several reasons, they're bringing back that first-person immersive sim, story-driven shooter that, like System Shock, Deus Ex back in the day with Origin Systems and Looking Glass Studios. They were pioneering it, but it just didn't always catch on because you have to be pretty patient to play those kind of games. I don't think that was a time before people realized how intelligent games could be with their systems and interlocking
I just want to play
mechanics.
Doom, man. What is this?
Yeah, Doom's, which is nothing wrong with that.
No,
but,
I meant back in the day.
No, I know. Yeah,
I was like, excuse me?
Arcane Studios like continuously impressing me. Like Dishonored 2, I'm playing through it for the second time on and off right now, and I'm loving it. And I'm pretty excited to see what they do with Prey and see now that like Ralph Colantonio is at the front.
You love saying his name.
Yeah, Rafael Colantonio. He's at the head of Prey. And
God, say it at least once a day to me. Somehow you find a way to fit that in.
and yeah, in general, if and with Harvey Smith at the head of Dishonored, why do you have to throw me off like that?
I keep up with you, man.
Rafael. He's not Spanish like I'm applying with that accent. But anyway, it's
oh my God.
Arcane Studio kind of always just seems like they can do no wrong right now. Let's hoping that holds up on May 5th when Prey releases. But I don't know what other developers are there that are always like. I feel like Rockstar is.
Somebody in
usually
Twitch chat.
The jump from GTA 2 to 3 was pretty significant.
Yeah.
Does someone say Naughty Dog? It looks like Foam Knuckles said he's an Uncharted
people are
lover.
arguing over Naughty Dog, I think.
Okay, I was gonna say Naughty Dog. I don't dislike anything except for like Uncharted 1. I mean, they were rather than jumping genres like Guerrilla Games did. We were just talking about. You can look at Naughty Dog and see this gradual logical evolution, right? You start with Crash Bandicoot, the third-person, like bare-bones third-person platformer action game on the first PlayStation.
And then Uncharted, and there you go.
And then you jump to Jack and Dexter, which is more the evolution of that third-person shooter and mechanics in it and wider worlds. And then you go to Uncharted, this like kind of grand adventure with set pieces. By the time you get to Uncharted 3, you have The Last of Us right around the corner. It's a much more bleak, a much more story-driven,
Love it.
third-person adventure and kind of like shooting mechanics, survival mechanics. Uncharted 4 rolls around. Some jamoke at GameSpot gave it a 10 out of 10, but it's a fantastic game in its own right. Nah, that was me. I really like this game.
You're that jamoke.
I think everybody should play Uncharted 4 for various reasons, and you can read my review if you want to. It's up on the site. Go check it out. 10 out of 10. Yeah, it's outdated. With Lost Legacy on the horizon, maybe you should play Uncharted 4 if you haven't finished it. Did you play Uncharted 4, Kelly?
Mm-mm.
No.
I've never played an Uncharted. I don't know anything.
Interesting.
I was like you until a few months ago.
Yeah.
4 is a great place to start.
Really?
Yep.
For real?
Oddly enough.
Yep. I played like 10 minutes of 1 when it first came out, and I was like, screw this shit. Oh.
The F-bomb. Put it in the
Yeah.
And then I played Uncharted 4.
Feed the F-bomb,
For those
please.
who can't see, I am placing $1 inside the F-bomb.
We'll figure out what to do with the money later on, but it is in there.
We
It's
can
real
buy
money.
ourselves a nice pizza.
Anyway, Uncharted 4 is great because you don't really need all the history of the characters or the games.
Okay.
It tells a compelling story
Frames it.
anyway.
Toward the
Frames
end,
it.
too. Yeah.
Bucky Bits on Twitch said Valve ? Earlier, a little bit earlier. I mean,
I feel like Valve is so different than what it used to be. Now it's just so esports focused and
Very
just
different.
Dota 2. And I'm sure, I know they have, and then all their proprietary stuff and their hardware to boot, but I'm sure they have a lot of stuff they're working on, but who knows what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite on topic, but kind of similar discussion about a developer that went from perhaps irrelevance to utter relevance is Psyonix.
Yeah.
I mean, don't need to tell you guys the story of Rocket League. It's incredible. The first version of that game that came out in like 2008 or 9, supersonic acrobatic rocket powered battle cars. Yeah.
We need a Jinx jar.
That game, but it didn't have legs, and we just leave it at that.
Oh, God. But what about Rocket League? Does it?
Rocket League has so many legs.
It's got wheels. I thought that was.
I'm
Were we
leaving.
not going for the same joke?
We're not.
We went over each
no.
other's head. Rocket
I'm
League.
upset about losing $1.
Supersonic, acrobatic, rocket power, battle cars did not have wheels, but Rocket League has wheels. It has NOS. It has machine guns that come out of the hood of the cars in the DLC, which is upcoming. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
But you do have that thing with the splunger.
The weapons.
Plunger. That's the word.
Have you played much of the
No.
what is the mode with all the? I get so sick of that. You do have nitrous. Damn, that's the ugliest car ever.
That's real ugly.
I'm a Masamune person.
You would be.
Weeboo.
Oh yeah, you're a weeaboo.
Yeah. At this table.
Bakadana.
I said mango once and
Yeah.
yelled at.
Okay.
What are the developers we have here? I mentioned Rockstar we kind of got into briefly. I have one I want to bring up to you because I'm sure you have an opinion about it.
No.
From Software,
Almost
I
swear.
think most things From Software does is just great. They have, I think they're a little more relevant
Swore?
now. Yhorm the Giant.
I
that
swear.
figure, the beginning. What are you two talking about?
Something else.
He said I almost sweared, and then I was like, sweared?
At the beginning of the show, we showed this Yhorm the Giant giveaway. I don't feel like picking it back up, but it's relevant because Dark Souls 3 has DLC incoming. Eric Tay would know when. It's about a month or two away, kind of amid this spring release schedule. Everything From does is some sort of excellent. I gave Dark Souls 3 an 8 out of 10. I felt like it got a little repetitive in the late game, and the bosses stopped being interesting. Same problem I'm having with Neo, actually, but I really like both Neo and Dark Souls 3. But Bloodborne's one of my favorite games, and anything from... Oh, this is my footage, I think. Anything From Software does is just, in general, I expect it to be fantastic. And they haven't let me down yet, so I don't have any reason to expect they might.
You should play some of their old games.
Right, like before Demon Souls. What was Kingdom? Something Kingdom?
It was Kingsfield.
Kingsfield.
It was a series they worked on.
And that looked like Ultima Underworld first-person like RPG sim.
Yes,
Am I right?
dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, they made a lot of Armored Core games, which were very hit or miss.
Yeah. But since Demon Souls, I feel like they've nailed it more or less. Speaking of someone that used to be kind of... So with Joe Danger.
Joe Danger.
Joe Danger. Hello Games kind of jumped genres with No Man's Sky, a contentious game of 2016. Some people got what they wanted, some people did not. Some people felt like promises were broken. Some people felt like marketing led them astray. But like it or love it, No Man's Sky was very different from Joe Danger, Hello Games' previous series.
Yeah.
Pete, what's your thoughts on the jump they made?
They took away the motorcycle.
Yeah.
They made
Took away Joe.
They took away Joe. Well, I role played as Joe the whole time.
Yeah.
Obviously they expanded this huge, universe with all these. I guess it was a galaxy, galaxy with all these planets and star systems and all this great stuff. It's just like Joe Danger was like, here's a motorcycle, you're gonna rev up and go off a jump, get some points. Like this is not that.
And I think you defend No Man's Sky more than a lot of people.
Yeah, I'll defend it.
Do it.
To near death.
Do it.
Near death?
Near death. I won't die for it.
Whenever I think about No Man's Sky, I think about that video where they played like the janky Jurassic Park music.
Yeah.
And then I laughed.
We all did it. We
I couldn't.
harmonized, and you
I
did
found I couldn't find enough substance in No Man's Sky. Granted, I only played for 4 hours, but I couldn't find enough.
Can I ask you where you played it? Was it at home by yourself? Was Eric Taylor there bothering you?
Such an inside joke. But no, not at the time. One of my former roommates who made things not enjoyable sometimes.
Hope you're watching, Eric.
Hey, Eric,
Sup,
if you're
Eric?
watching. No, I was playing at home and for about 4 hours one night, and then I left for a trip for work, and then I never came back to it afterward.
Yeah.
So
I immersed myself for like a week straight, just like not moving. I had the perfect butt groove in the couch.
Nice.
I mean, I literally spent as much time as I could.
that was your cat.
I was like,
Why is my butt groove moaning?
yeah. I spent as much time as I could by myself playing it. You think that's bad?
It's tame.
Yeah, like I really had to immerse myself in the
didn't say it was
adventure.
bad.
You know, and I really just kind of that's what did it for me. Like if you look at it from like a bullet point, like a checklist kind of thing, it's like, oh, does it do these things that they told me it would do? Nah, it doesn't really add up. But kind of like Horizon, I didn't really pay attention to No Man's Sky because I didn't think it was going to be a game for me. And kind of like Horizon, I just fell into it. So for what it was, I thought it was actually very impressive.
It's also not I mean, it's different when you don't work in games, I guess. But like, I definitely work very hard not to evaluate a game based on what I expected from it. Like, I want to take it for what it is, which is very different for if you're, just like you were really excited for this game, you saw the trailers, you saw all the hype for it, and then you got something that was different. I think, being on either sides of that fence, you're going to have different opinions about No Man's Sky.
Totally.
Yeah. And then I did want to mention Rockstar quick. I keep bringing it up, but I feel like everything they do is pretty, spot on.
Yeah.
That table tennis game was okay.
Yeah. The one Rockstar game I've never played that I always get yelled at for is Bully.
You ever played Bully?
You've never played Bully?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Take this segment away?
I've never played Bully.
Oh my god!
What?
You haven't played Bully?
You haven't played Bully? Tell us about Bully. So they did not miss the mark with this, I take it.
So the other weekend I got really drunk and played Bully, which was really fun because I kept wanting to go to English class.
I get drunk and bully people. Throw rocks at kids. Grenades at adults.
They can take it.
Depending on your age, I'll throw something more lethal at you. And depending on my
Good luck,
drunkenness.
Grandpa.
Yeah, it's a sliding
like 80,
scale.
I've got a rocket launcher.
Someone draw that graph of like the parabola. Anyway, I mean, you just go around, you punch people, and you go to class and you kiss girls, and you can kiss boys. So very ahead of its time.
And play pranks, right?
Yeah, and and there's like I did Halloween, but like I said, I was super drunk. I'm a writer, so I was like, I can't wait to go to English class and be smart in English. Drink responsibly, and
Hide your grenades.
and but it's just like one of those. I wouldn't call it a cult.
Davis is getting away.
But Davis is getting
away.
away.
There's a permanent upper third telling you that.
There's something so like stupidly fun about it.
Are you at the school the whole time?
No, you can go in town. You can go on like a festival date with a girl. I couldn't figure out how to get to the festival. I tried swimming in the ocean and it didn't work. And then she dumped me.
Well, you tried swimming to get to the festival?
Yeah, because it was like across the bay. Getting wailed on.
When we move on from Bully, is that everything? Is that enough?
Yeah,
for Bully?
that's basically what I wanted to say about Bully.
Yeah, so Rockstar doesn't always disappoint, to say the least. They haven't really jumped genres too much, but they are capable. Like Max Payne 3 wasn't an open world game, but that was still a fantastic third-person shooter, one of my favorite. I do want to talk about someone that seems on the decline, Pete, that you mentioned yesterday. They have Nier Automata on the
Platinum. What a weird story. I mean, it felt like for years they could do no wrong. Like they were just kind of like every beat was like yes, yes, yes.
Then a group of mutant turtles came along last year in Manhattan, New York.
It was. I think it was Korra was the first game, or maybe Turtles came first. But they've had a slew of like licensed games. Like Transformers was apparently okay, because it didn't really reach too far and it sort of delivered this like cool like 80s action game. But Turtles, Korra,
by the way, the Polygon review for Turtles is like the funniest review I've ever read.
Yeah. Was that Justin?
No.
I don't remember who wrote it.
Oh, maybe it was.
Maybe it was.
Justin McElroy.
It's so funny.
It's really funny. Yeah. Go read that. And they seem to be slipping a little bit. And who knows where the buck falls when it comes to the Xbox One game, Dragon... Scalebound.
Yeah.
Scalebound.
Dragon.
We're professionals. Who knows whose fault that is? But the story of Platinum is a bit strange at this point. To see,
Sorry, I'm reading it right now. It's Justin McElroy.
Okay.
So funny.
To read some, to see some of their failures and then to sort of see a game like this, a big one get canceled, is a pretty big indication of some problems, as is the president leaving the company. What is happening with them? I don't know. I don't think they're out of great ideas. Like the new Nier is really fun from what I've played in preview events.
That
Like,
girl's outfit, love it.
totally cute.
Gonna cosplay it.
It hits all the right like buttons for me in terms of action and presentation and like Platinum creativity when it comes to like just mixing that all together in something really fascinating and fun. But what else do they have right now? They're making a game with the people who made Final Fantasy Tactics, but it's for mobile. Like there's all this like weird stuff where I feel like the stuff that people really want from them is sort of like a side project for Platinum now.
Right.
They've had to adapt to the market.
and it seems like their reputation, which is already kind of at a low point, hinges on the sequel to a cult classic, Nier, which not a lot of people played. I'm looking forward to Automata a lot. It's really fun from what I played. The platinum mechanics feel really great, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to like elevate them again.
I mean,
but hopefully it is.
They clearly have the talent in house. I don't think it's a slight to anyone who works there or creates games for them to sort of look at Platinum this way. It's just the business decisions and the projects that are being taken on. I don't know. And maybe they're just not given the same treatment among the teams, right? Certain people go to play or to develop certain games. Other ones work on the licensed stuff. And
yeah.
I don't know. It harms the reputation of the company a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to Nier Automata?
Yeah.
I keep telling everybody.
Didn't play the original. I just it's like I want to jump into it now that there's a new one coming out.
Did you play Drakengard 3? Because apparently this is like something of a spiritual successor.
Wait, really?
To Drakengard, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I've never played Drakengard.
I haven't played that one, but that's cool.
It sounds like something you might play.
Probably.
Not an insult.
I
say Drakengard art.
Knowing you, it could
Mike
be
play?
an insult.
What would Mike play?
Mike would play Wii Sports Resort.
What? At least give me like Nintendo Land.
No, you'd play Wii Sports Resort.
All right.
Just for a workout.
Whatever. All right, moving on. So if we didn't mention any developers that you think jump genres really well, or any developers that are kind of hot right now, doing a good job with their recent releases, or any that you are excited for, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, Pete Brown, Callie Plaggy, Mike Mahardy, and leave your thoughts in the comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. All right, last segment. We're going back to Horizon for one last thing. Nintendo Switch releases March 3rd.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What?
Nice.
I don't know. I didn't like double check what we could talk about, so I'm just gonna not talk about stuff.
Just ask questions and I will answer appropriately.
Okay, so Breath of the Wild is about to release. It's an open world game. We were talking about open world games before.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Legend of
confirming
Zelda.
things.
It'll be made by Nintendo
Yes.
in Japan.
Yes.
It'll be on the Nintendo Switch.
Yes. And the Wii U.
And the Wii U.
Don't forget about that.
The Wii U was Nintendo's previous console.
Yes. This has gone on too far.
And we wanted to talk about whether Horizon Zero Dawn, because it was so surprising as an open world game, will hold you over until Breath of the Wild comes out, if not even compete with it in terms of an open world game.
Right.
Because Breath of the Wild, for what we've seen, is the closest Zelda hasn't got back to that first Zelda, which is completely open, just more like emphasizing exploration, but obviously to like the 100th degree in this case on the Nintendo Switch.
100th.
Just times 100. Take the first Zelda, multiply it by 100. That's what you get.
That's
for Breath of the
100th
Wild.
degree and times 100 are very different.
I know, but I don't want to talk about exponents right now. I just want to talk about whether Horizon Zero Dawn will hold you over until Breath of the Wild comes out in terms of being an open world game.
All right. So based on my previous experience playing Zelda at events, right, like E3 and stuff, I'm trying to contextualize where I'm presenting this
Okay.
I can walk off set. It's cool.
No, don't do that.
All right. So yes, all the things you said were true, like having
Fucking embargoes.
Put it down.
All right. So having played a little bit of Breath of the Wild in the past and then jumping into Horizon, yes, I immediately had that feeling of, crap, am I spoiling Breath of the Wild for myself by playing this game, right? Open world, survival's a thing. Bow and arrow is, like what you use most of the time, and that was a source of some of the best footage of Breath of the Wild, like the slow-mo bow shots, like, oh, damn, that's in Horizon, right? Well, after going through Horizon, I can certainly say that what I expect from Zelda, Horizon gave me something different. There are certain parallels to be drawn. I think you can play both games and not get burnt out. I mean, time will tell. But certainly Horizon is its own beast. But it definitely has that, like, if you need like a taste of Zelda, if you can't get it right away, but you have a PS4, I encourage you to try Horizon because it offers similar things mechanically.
It seems like there's much more, from what I know of Breath of the Wild, it seems like there is much more room for emergent situations. Like things happening that you might not initially even consider. Because I know that happens in Horizon a little bit, but it seems like Zelda, you can, like, from what we saw, you can snowboard down the slope on that thing. You can jump off and paraglide.
Those are mechanical layers.
Right, but I mean,
You
like
say
in terms
emergent,
of
I
like
think of,
in
like-
terms of like not knowing that if you're in a thunderstorm, this
Sure.
metal suit is going to shock you. I don't see as many unfactored situations happening that might happen in Breath of the Wild in Horizon Zero Dawn, because I've been playing like 4 or 5 hours of this,
Right.
and it seems a little more predictable than Zelda. Not in a bad way. It just seems more condensed. Zelda seems like there are way more overlapping mechanics.
I mean, in a way, you could say, because yes, based on all the footage coming out of like previous events, one of the things people were talking about was, did you see this thing in Breath of the Wild? What? You can do that? No. Did you see this thing? Oh my God. Like,
yeah, everybody did something different.
Right. That was the story there. And so Horizon is, in that context, a simpler game. Zelda certainly will have a lot of surprises based on what we've seen up to this point. Like, it seems to indicate that, like, you're going to have to learn things on the fly.
Especially the beginning of Horizon is a lot more linear.
Yeah.
When you get a little bit of time to do side questing and stuff, but when we... Like at E3, when everybody was playing demos of Zelda, it was like, I went to a mountain. What? There was a mountain? Oh, yeah, and I didn't have clothes on, so I froze. Like,
what? You were naked?
Yeah. Like, wait, you didn't have clothes on? Like, so, yeah, in that sense, I think what we've been exposed to so far has been a lot less linear than maybe what your initial, like what you know about Horizon. If you haven't seen anything but like previews, it's less linear than what you've seen from that.
Yeah.
Josh Shaw in Twitch chat is saying that they're going to be different because one's Japanese, the other is Western. Is
Way
Horizon,
to be reductive, Josh.
Well, is Horizon...
That's
Horizon's Western style, but it's not a Western... Oh, yeah, it's from Amsterdam.
I mean, yeah. I think you can look at maybe just that quintessential Nintendo charm and see how no game can ever really replicate that as well as a Nintendo game.
Link is like such a dork, and I love that about him.
3D
like,
Dot Game Heroes could.
Like when you...
Yeah, but it's different. People did like that game.
I'm just being contrarian.
Actually, anyway.
when he cooks, he's humming and stuff, and it's just it's a very different character perspective, I guess, if that makes sense. Like Horizon is much more like there's some serious shit going. Oh fuck.
Everyone's
Eat it.
just for the record, I gave both of them the dollars they've put in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
Look,
We
I'll
should have
give you
we
$1
should have
when we leave.
Yeah,
Don't
for the record.
patronize us.
For the record, no one
You
can
don't-
see me on camera
that's
right now,
not-
but I'm
that's
posing
not-
to the camera. Thank
That's
you.
not relevant.
Look, I have
Stop
$1.
patronizing me.
I have $1. Just
It's
it
not
wasn't
patronizing.
in
The
my
opposite.
pocket.
Stop condescending to me.
No, I'm a patron.
No,
Ugh.
those aren't the opposite. Anyway,
Condescending and patronizing are not the same.
they're not the same, but they're not
They're
opposite.
pretty opposite.
No,
One
they're
is-
not.
One is putting someone down. One is like trying to make someone else feel better by putting.
No,
I know
they're
what
not
they are.
opposites. No, you forfeited the words. You forfeited editorship, so you don't get to tell me what words mean.
Oh shit!
Oh,
More
dude.
video team get betrayed.
Anyway, yeah, or like what we're seeing here right now, just bring it back. Like the moving the environment versus in Horizon, there's much more, using the environment to do things for your, like, you don't use the environment in the same way. So you're harvesting things from the environment, but like what I've seen from Breath of the Wild, what I've played of Breath of the Wild is very much like finding clever ways to interact with the environment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how do I chop down a tree without an axe? Well, I can figure it out, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
It's weird because Breath of the Wild's world is gorgeous and doesn't initially seem dangerous, but from what I've actually played, it is, and survival's a big part of it. Whereas
Yeah.
Horizon seems very dangerous, but
It's a lot less dangerous.
Yeah, it's still dangerous. I mean, there are some
Right.
tough animals to fight, but I haven't had too much trouble yet.
The game is very generous in terms of being like, you can just pick up plants and keep them in your pocket,
Sure.
and when you need to munch some for health, do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like you can,
Or you can
heal
make a health
yourself.
potion.
Yes.
Yeah, or health potions. Yeah, you can heal yourself pretty readily in Horizon.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I did not get to some of the Twitter questions we had earlier this week about Horizon.
Don't be remiss.
Remiss isn't. That's the
Remiss.
Be remiss.
remiss.
What did I say?
Remissed.
I'm sorry. I'm just okay. Let's not do this grammar thing now. we don't need that on. Okay. Page 3 glamour babes. Pete
He really
on
is
Twitter.
Mac, isn't? Not Mac. He's Dennis.
He's Dennis,
so Dennis
as hell.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're talking about It's Always Sunny if you don't have the inside joke. Page 3 glamour babes on Twitter was saying, how long is the game and are there any side missions, quests to do? Yeah, there are side missions and quests for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I spent about 60 hours, 82% completion rating, and I didn't focus on side quests that often.
Yeah. Daniel Noss said, thoughts on the best game developers? Sony has exclusives with all of them. I don't think it's true, but
No,
it's got a few.
That's not true.
There are more quote unquote best game developers out there.
Yes. Am I going to be able to hunt animals or is it just machines? That's about Horizon, which I'm sure you discerned.
You also hunt animals, and they are a source of the sort of natural resources like bones and hides that you use to create pouches.
Yeah.
And you also use them for a few other things. So yes.
Meat can be used for health potions and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, isn't there different kinds of meat? There's like bony meat and
Fatty meat.
Fatty meat.
And rich meat.
Right.
Which
Right,
how is that
right.
different from fatty meat? I don't know.
Fatty is fatty. Rich is
Rich connotes fat.
Richard. Who?
Richard?
Richard.
the
brother?
Richard meat.
Yeah.
Anyway, my not fat brother?
So yeah, let us know what you think.
Or
Let us know what you think. Will Horizon Zero Dawn hold you over until Breath of the Wild comes out? Let us know next week once you play. We'll circle back to it. We'll be on Twitter, obviously. Pete Brown, Callie Plaggy, Mike Mahardy. Let us know what you think of Horizon once you play it next week, or if you've already played it. I don't know, depending on what your profession is. And let us know what you think about it. And yeah, that is a lot of Horizon talk today.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let us know. That's pretty much our show. I do want to bring this. I almost swore.
Monstrosity.
Shit, sorry. So this is the giveaway we mentioned at the beginning of the show. It's Yhorm the Giant from Dark Souls 3, if you're familiar. It's a really bad boss fight from the game, but a cool figure.
Oh my god.
Hey, you said shit, bro. Where's my dollar?
Yeah, you gotta put
give
another
him a
dollar
dollar.
in. You swore again.
I don't have another dollar.
Daddy Warbucks over here.
Yeah, so GameSpot's going to be tweeting this. It will be... I don't need your money.
Oh,
So condescending.
Oh, but
Condescending
you-
sorry.
around.
You're bigger than the swear jar. You don't have to.
No, okay, fine.
You owe me $2.
I'll pay you back. Yeah, we will. GameSpot has tweeted the link to this giveaway. So enter your name, follow GameSpot, retweet that tweet, and later on the week we will pick a winner. And maybe you'll get this 30-pound Yhorm the Giant. He's
It's
really
not
like
30
20
pounds.
pounds. He's 20 pounds.
I'm
close.
It's 17 pounds.
But anyway, thanks so much to the guys in the back: John Luke Seipke, Richard Lee, Eric Tay. We're gonna have a good show next week. We'll be able to talk more about some Nintendo stuff.
Yes.
Switch and not Zelda, or Zelda.
We can talk about Zelda.
We can talk more about Zelda. Not that we have it in our office.
I wish.
Yeah. This is so stupid. So yeah, thanks as always for joining us for the week. We will be back here next week at 11 a.m. on Wednesday here in San Francisco, California. Thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next time.
Oh my god, how do I respond to a guy that has Japanese in the front? I can't, like, search his name.